audio. Okay, great. It's picking it up now. So, okay, well, we'll start with the introduction. So here we go.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, welcome to the Boosted Volunteer. I'm Robin Eissler, and today we're talking with Jason Stover. Jason is the vice president of the Eagle Touchdown Club in Prosper, Texas, and also a former officer in the Reynolds Athletics Booster Club, a middle school program. Jason's an expert in Booster Club leadership and has been instrumental in forming long-term infrastructure for both clubs. And today he's going to share the differences between running a middle school booster club versus a high school one, and also some of the differences between a general umbrella athletic club versus a sport-specific club. Jason, welcome.
Welcome. Hey, thank you so much, Robin. I appreciate the interview tonight.
Well, as we were just talking, it's the first week of August, and you're my favorite booster volunteer. You're like super booster. You're every time I turn around, you're in another booster club. I'm like, there's Jason again. So tell us about your booster journey, how you got involved, where you started, what roles you've played, and give us some insight on that.
Sure. It starts way back in the good old days, right? When we first moved here to Texas, coming up on 12 years now, I think, our kiddos were in elementary school, and we were trying to find ways to be involved with the schools. At that time, I was actually a stay-at-home dad. My wife worked for a large company and traveled a lot, so we have 5 young kiddos, and it just required somebody to be home full time. So I took on that role, and I wanted to still be active in the kids' schools. So there was actually a program within the PTO organization at our elementary school where it had dads come in to just go in the classrooms. It was called a Watch D.O.G.S program. It is a national program now. So I was able to join that one and just get involved. The following year, I actually, our school split, so I actually took over as the coordinator for the program for the school and ran that for a couple of years, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved being a part of the school system and supporting the kids and supporting the teachers in the classrooms. And we would do all kinds of things in the classroom, just, help cut and paste, or we'd have game time. That kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun being on site, and I wanted to continue that as my kids got older and eventually aged out of elementary school. So when we rolled over to middle school, which here in Texas, in our area, begins in 6th grade, and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is considered middle school here in Texas. And even though you're, as a 6th grader, you are in middle school, you can't participate in middle school sports yet. That's saved for 7th and 8th grade. 6th grade, they go through what's called a pre-athletics program, and they kind of learn the ropes, how to work out, how to, all the basics, essentially. So 6th grade year, I volunteered to help. I helped do some concession stand stuff, and then really focused just on kind of learning the ropes and learning how Booster Club works at the middle school level. It was new to me, so I was in learning mode. And unfortunately, that's right when COVID hit.
Oh, no.
So it kind of stopped in the middle of the school year for everybody, just like everybody else, right? So it kind of put the pause on that. But the following year, as we began our back to school here in Texas, we still had an athletic program, and I joined the Booster Club at that point as a coordinator of boys athletics. And basically, it's just making sure that the boys' sports coaches are taken care of and making sure that we've got whatever they need, essentially. At that point, it was very, very weird, right? Because we had sports, but we didn't have sports because of COVID. So there are a lot of restrictions we had to work through. And so a lot of it was just, we kind of figured it out as we get along. Game day snacks are a big thing. For a lot of these programs, and what we could do the year before, we couldn't do that year. So there was a lot of figuring it out as we went along, and just a lot of discussion, and it was pretty quiet as far as the Booster Club program goes. The following year is when things really ramped back up. We opened up, basically full speed here in Texas. And at that point, I rolled into, I actually became president of the Booster Club at that point. And we had we started from scratch. Basically, we had some parents that moved away. You know, their kids aged out at middle school, so all of our experienced people, you know, went on to high school. So we were kind of left in the lurch to try and figure out how to do things and what we could do. We had some changes in also the coaches at the middle school. And so there's a lot of new relationships that we had to build. So there's a lot of just sitting down, asking the coaches what they want. What did they want in the booster club? And a couple of them had no idea.
Yeah, some coaches don't know how to leverage a booster club.
No, they do not, and they don't know how to deal with parents. They can deal with kids great. You know, they're obviously middle school coaches for a reason, and they can relate to the kids and can connect with them very well. But a lot of the times that connection is lost between kids and parents. And so I kind of took it upon myself to be that bridge and take what the coaches were telling us, turn it into parent speak, if you will, and give much more details than, you know, an average teenage, you know, or almost teenager, you know, is going to give to mom and dad. You know, what do they need for clothing, for sports? What do they need for tryouts? What are the dates? What are all the things? So we really began to ramp up just our scheduling and providing one location for our parents to go to. And at that point, we had no idea about BoosterHub. And so we were using, you know, different, you know, a site for this, a site for that, a calendar for this, calendar for that. Here's that app, you know, all the things, right? All things that we hate.
I call that the 18 different logins. I had my 18 different logins, so.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it was. And it was overwhelming for me, just trying to manage it all. And you know, and being a parent trying to go through it, but much less somebody that has the inner workings, right? You know what you're supposed to be doing, but for parents that don't have that opportunity to be as involved in the kids' school as they may choose to be, it's very, very hard for them to get their information. So
a lot of
following.
I always,
I'm sorry.
I always talk to boosters about that because, you know, when you're in the booster seat, you see everything and you just think like everybody sees everything. Absolutely. And you forget, like, on day one of middle school or day one of high school, there's so much coming at a parent that, you know, it's really easy for the booster club information to go right by them.
Absolutely. It's information overload at the start of the school year, and people who had never been involved with athletics before they don't know. And it's just because they don't know what they don't know. And that's perfectly fine. That's okay. You know, that's absolutely fine as a parent, you know. And it's just our job to make sure that they can get that information easily, without having to dig through 15 different websites or 15 different emails, all that. So in my second year, so my first year as president, again, kind of learning, kind of getting an idea of what I wanted the Booster Club to be able to do for the kids. The great thing about middle school boosters, athletic boosters, is that you get to see all the kids and all the sports, not just, in my case, not just football, right? Because so I've got 3 boys and then 2 girls. Our primary focus for our boys is football. This is Texas. It's what they play. We did baseball as well, but it was definitely not a primary sport, and is not something offered at the middle school here in Texas. So for us to be able to, for me at least, I learned a whole lot more about volleyball. Just hadn't been around it, you know, was never exposed to it. Had friends whose kids played, but okay, great, yay! I didn't know what that meant commitment wise.
I like to say it's the new football. You know, it
absolutely is.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely is. I mean, just the sheer. We can talk all day about that. I mean, just the sheer amount of work that's involved. Yeah, you know, right. It's dedication, just like football. It's if you're going to succeed at any of these sports, it's dedication and work.
I just say the only difference in volleyball, we have 2 games a week. Football only has 1. You know?
Right? Like, yes. Right? Yes.
We're doing this twice a week, so
exactly. So, and then as I got to know the coaches and I got to understand like what the parent expectations were, They get hit up every year. Hey, volunteer for Booster Club. Well, what does the Booster Club do for me? What do they do for my kid? And prior to this, we weren't good at explaining what our mission was. The Booster Club, they support the kids in sports. Great. Well, what does that mean? What is our identity? So we kind of took all this, and I was very fortunate to have a lot of passionate parents that were on the board with me that were just as passionate and just as eager to drive support of our kids across the entire school, and not just focus on one group, not just focus on the girls' athletics or the boys' athletics, or even just one sport within each group. So we kind of worked together to develop a framework of what we were going to present to the coaches as to, hey, we're going to do game day meals, we're going to do game day snacks, we're going to do special recognition for athletes of the month, we're going to do special recognition for whatever comes up, right? Whatever major accomplishment for one of these student athletes, getting an Eagle Scout, that's a pretty cool, lifetime accomplishment. You don't see too many of those, obviously, in middle school, but it's that kind of ideas. Some of these kids that just do something really special that deserve to be, bragged on a little bit and given some awareness to. So we put all this together, and then we realized that the platform that we were using just couldn't do it. It was very, very hard to learn, and it was not easy for our parents to use as a kind of a one-stop shop, right? So that's when we began looking for a new platform to use, that we could deliver this program to our parents. And so that kind of rolled us. We looked at a couple different groups, and we came across BoosterHub within probably about a month of just kind of poking around. And as I dug more into it and did more research, and I think I even talked to you a couple times way back when, and just was really interested in what BoosterHub could offer our organization and our parents. As a one-place stop. At that point, my oldest was transitioning out of middle school and was moving to high school. And so I was, again, asked to serve on that board there, just as a member at large, again, to kind of learn the ropes. So while he was a freshman, I was serving both as president of our middle school and as a member at large on just a football board.
Jason, where do you find the time? 5 kids, 2 Booster Club boards. I mean,
you're absolutely right. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I will say the only saving grace is back then. I was a stay-at-home dad, so I had hours during the daytime when the kids were at school. Yeah. I had about 3 or 4 hours solid where I could just pound away and get stuff done. Now I'm actually working full time, and so I could not do that again, right now.
Yeah, I get it.
Bridging 2 like that, it's tough.
Most people don't realize when they step into the role that it's almost, particularly in the fall for those 2 sports, it's a full-time job. It's not a part-time job.
It absolutely is, and I would hesitate to say that even it's a full-time job, even in winter, and spring. It is a full-time job. It's a lot of fun. It's really great, but it's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of work, just to keep things running smoothly. And the best thing I can say is I have been blessed to work with some just amazing parents that are just as dedicated and have been able to help pick up some of my slack and take on some of the other responsibilities, that come with this volunteering job. And because of this, BoosterHub has absolutely been a great platform for us to use, in order to get our message out to our parents and provide, well, here's where you're going to go, for your game day meals. Here's where you're going to go for your spirit wear. Here's going to be our weekly calendar. Here's the game schedules, all in one place, rather than, again, having to use your 18 logins.
Yeah, and part of the problem on the parent side is they don't know where to go because some stuff's on a website, some stuff's on an app, some stuff's in a flyer from the school, and then you're like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go to volunteer. So what do? You don't volunteer. Like
Exactly.
that's really the
Yep.
problem. Well, tell us about your current role and what you're doing right now.
Okay. So I did actually eventually roll off of the middle school. I was president for about 3 years on that one, and then rolled over to the Eagle Touchdown Club, which is our Prosper High School football booster club. And it is only football, so that is the only sport that we focus on. At the high school level, each sport maintains its own athletic booster club, if you will.
And how does that structure-wise work? Like in the middle school, you allocate funds to certain sports, or everybody gets the same, or what's your perspective on that?
So when we are looking at the middle school level, when you're looking at spending your funds on whatever, right, whatever program, we look at, does what we're going to do, a prime example here would be, we purchased quite a bit of new weight room equipment. Okay, so some bars, some weights, some dumbbells, that kind of stuff. And the approach that I was very, I should say this, that was very important to me was I wanted to make sure it impacted the most amount of kids rather than just one sport.
Right.
I chose a magical dollar amount of, okay, if we're over this amount, let's really take a good hard look and see how many kids we're going to be benefiting from this. And in this case, everybody used the weights, so it was a very easy decision. In contrast, we actually bought a volleyball return machine and a basketball return machine. That one was a little bit more. Required some more discussion.
Right.
Because it is very much sports specific. The basketball goal return server, we decided that one was better. It was easier to justify because both boys and girls play that, and so it would get lots of use because they practice at different times, and so it was very easy to make the judgment call. Where we all actually really struggled was on the volleyball, because that is a very specific piece of equipment that really only volleyball uses. But at the end of the day, we came to realize, it's okay that it's volleyball specific. It will still benefit, 10 years of students coming through, and all the girls that would get more practice reps because of this one piece of equipment. So once we took, that approach, super easy to justify. So I really stress the importance of taking that 40,000 foot view and look at the problem from above and see, does this benefit multiple sports versus just one? And if it is just one, it can still be okay, but you really need to go down and do some due diligence and make sure that it's a long-term impact instead of just 1 year or 2 years.
Right.
It's not enough time.
In contrast, the football team can probably go out and buy a piece of equipment for one player almost, right? Like a kicker practice thing or something.
Right. Yeah. No. And football's a different beast, obviously. Like the middle school, the high school gets funds from the school district, to purchase new uniforms, equipment, weights, whatevers, right? All the things. But we are a 6A program. So we have anywhere from 250 to 300 football players in our program. And so while we do get a good, funding from our district, there are some things that there just is not enough money to cover. And so that's when the coach comes to us and say, hey, district has paid for ABC. Can you guys do, X, Y, Z? And again, if it's for the good of the program, if it meets our requirements, if it's from one of our approved vendors, or if it's in the budget, also, can we afford to do this?
Speaking of budgets, how does the budget process, how do the amounts of budget compare between the two, and fundraising? How do you do that at the two different levels?
Okay, so yes, so again,
we're throwing you in the deep end here.
no, yeah, you are. I'm going to give the best answers that I can.
No, I love it.
So, at the middle school level, I would say actually the fundraiser actually is a little bit easier there. And we've done multiple things in the past to try and raise money, and be a call-a-thon. We have done, we've tried to sell things, try to really just kind of seek donations from businesses, all of these things. And what has been successful at the middle school level really is I hate to say it, but it's the call-a-thon type of fundraiser, right? You get a phone number, you send a link, whoever can click it, right? It's
the
similar to
where you're growing your network by their networks.
Exactly. And at the middle school level, that has worked pretty well. And actually, we've been able to. That's how we could afford to buy some of most of that equipment that we had talked about. Now, in addition,
now we don't see those too often in the bigger umbrella booster clubs, like at the high school level. So, did you have all the players participate in that?
At the high school level,
or at middle school?
Yeah, so it was whoever wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there are some people that that they can't, or they're uncomfortable doing so, and that's completely fine. It was not made to be a mandatory type of event. No, absolutely not.
Do them by sport, or do it all as one big one?
We do it at the middle school level. We do it all as one big club, regardless of boys or girls. It gets too difficult if you try and drill it down. Well, volleyball raised $2,000. Oh, but cross country raised $150.
Yeah.
That's you can't do that. Right. At least at the middle school level, because then you're going to be tracking. Well, this equipment, we're going to buy new pennies for cross country. Oh, but it's going to exceed their $150 that they earn, because there's, a much smaller amount of cross country runners. Mm-hmm. So again, taking the approach at middle school, it's for all the sports, and it's one giant pool of money, if you will, regardless of what sport it was.
And then at the high school level, what really does well in the fundraising? And I'm assuming more sponsorships at the high school level.
Yes, yeah. So we definitely have. So we have a board member where their primary focus is getting community involvement and getting community sponsors. And we've got multiple levels of community sponsorships available for businesses. And we offer media day ads. We offer shout outs during home football games. We try to get very creative with what we offer our sponsors, if you will. But I will say by far the biggest fundraiser for our football program is, again, kind of the telethon fundraiser. Yeah. There is actually, I think it's this coming weekend for us. We have, one day, one afternoon where, we ask the kids, hey, you need 10 contacts. And just reach out to them, ask them if they would like to, and that's it. Mission accomplished. It is not mandatory. It is not you must generate $200 per athlete. No, it is hey, we need we need some money. If you can donate, please do so. But if not, no harm, no foul. The only people that see what money comes in really is the Booster Club, and we don't pass that information along to the coaches. All the coaches know is at the end of the day, we get, $1, $2, $3 from our fundraiser, and that's all that they need to be concerned about.
What's the difference in the coach involvement at middle school and high school? Is there a difference in the role that the coaches play, or is it about the same in the Booster Club? Like, do they?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of that, I believe, depends on really your school district or your county. However, I know this is going out to, many different schools across the nation. So really it depends on what your state and local government rules are about it, right? So here in Texas, in order for us to have a Booster Club meeting, we have to have a representative of the coaching staff present. The whole idea is it's a checks and balance to make sure that we're following the rules. We make sure they're following the rules, and there's no funny business going on, basically. So at the middle school level, I will say the coaches, once they bought in and understood what we were trying to do, they were excited to be part of it, because they could help us understand what it is they were communicating to the kids that might not be communicated, home.
To the parents.
To the parents, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was a good give and take, and at the middle school level, we typically would have the boys head coach and the girls head coach come and join the meeting to offer their own points of view. We only required. Our law only requires us to have one coach present, but it was, we'd have two from both sides of the house, if you will. So it was nice to have those different points of view.
What's one thing that you think is done better at the middle school level, and one thing that's done better at the high school level? You have kind of something you see that executes better at a different level?
I think at the middle school level, it's easier to make your decisions more quickly. They're much more agile in their decision-making processes. Because it's all of athletics, and it isn't just one sport. Sometimes with football at the high school level, football, love it or hate it in Texas, it is king, and sometimes that can step on people's toes.
It's political. And it's tradition.
It's political. It is. For good or for bad.
Yeah.
And so, really, it's a constant battle. Not battle, but it is a constant conversation where you're having to interface with even some of the other booster clubs, other sports, and just like, hey, yes, we're not saying that your sport is not important. It is. But this is what brings the crowds and brings the money into the school, and so we need to be able to accommodate as much as possible.
I always say in Texas, in most towns, it's the mayor, and then the varsity football coach is like the second most important person in town.
For good or for bad, right?
Yeah, politically,
absolutely.
That's the second strongest political person, and then maybe like the Booster Club president, like number
right,
4 or 5, right? Volleyball, we're like a county commissioner. We're way down there.
There you go. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Well, any advice for booster communities that are trying to decide, because, in a lot of cases, we see a general booster club at the high school level, like your middle school model. Any advice for a community trying to decide which way to go? We're seeing like the umbrella clubs, I call them umbrella clubs, more often they're breaking into sport specific for a lot of reasons. But just curious, since you've done both, any advice for somebody looking at doing that?
So we actually do have an umbrella booster club at our high school as well.
Oh, perfect.
Ask who's on that board. Hey, that'd be me. I'm on that board also. Again, I can speak only really for our district, right? And the idea behind the umbrella booster club is there's certain funds that come in from the district that are issued to the umbrella booster club, and the umbrella then distributes it evenly amongst, football, track and field, cross country, powerlifting, soccer, volleyball, golf, tennis, all the things, right? Water polo, I don't want to leave them off the list, right? Swim team, dive team, all the things. I apologize if I left your name off the list.
Boys volleyball, no, hold on, I'm trying.
There are so many sports, and our town is large, but it's not that large, so usually if there's some sort of capital improvement, those types of funds will come from the umbrella booster club.
Gotcha.
Okay. If there's, new, for example, there's new wraps that need to be put on the athletic hallway walls, right? It benefits all the athletes, not just football or not just volleyball or not just basketball. So those funds will be, come down from the umbrella club to pay for that installation. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of the basic, right? They also will distribute revenue earned from concession stand sales.
Okay.
Here at our district, there's one, again, kind of one pot of money. You sign up to run a concession night at a game, and eventually your club will get the trickle down funds from that, from the umbrella club. As to what is better, I think it's actually good to have both. The umbrella club does help kind of even the playing field, and it's a good checks and balance system. With football or any large sport, you kind of get used to doing things your way, and you're just going to do it because, hey, we're the biggest program at the school, so we're going to do it. Well, let's not run anybody off the road,
Yeah.
So the umbrella corporation the umbrella booster can kind of keep that in balance a little bit and hedge them in a little bit. Just, again, not intentional, not trying to create, issues, but sometimes, we all need to be reminded, hey, there's a bigger picture. It isn't just one sport. At the end of the day, it really is the focus from the umbrella club is, let's look at all the sports. So it almost takes a middle school approach and looking at what's good for the benefit of the majority of our athletes, not just one sport. So I actually recommend using both of them. If your district can support that, if it's large enough for that. Sometimes in a smaller school district, it's more work than what it's worth.
Yeah.
But I think as you begin to get larger, it's another layer of organization. It's another layer of separation between coaches and booster clubs, just to kind of protect everybody. In this day of everyone being audited, you want to make sure your ducks are in a row. So
that's
that
another
just kind of
podcast,
helps.
Jason. We're going to do that on another episode.
Perfect.
Booster Club audits. I'm going to write that one down. Nobody wants to listen to that episode.
No, probably not. But it would be an important one.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, in Georgetown, we do this similar thing with concessions. The school district actually runs the concessions, and then every sport can sign up. But one of the things I find about football is it always it's football, but it's not really just football. You've got cheerleaders there, the marching band's there. If you're doing group concessions, usually other sports are there working the concessions. So though it's the football program, it really turns into a school event because so many different programs are there during the football games. They've got so many attendees and things like that. So football, I think it's a little bad rap on that sometimes because
absolutely. No, yeah, and I think that's got to be one of my biggest pet peeves is everyone, it's football, they do whatever they want. Well, okay, great, but you know what? There's 60 kids on the sideline down there.
Yeah.
For football only. How many are in band?
Yeah.
How many are in dance? How many are in cheer? For us, we have a stadium crew that runs the display and the announcement and all the scoreboards. So there's easily 3 times as many support,
running
students
chains
that are,
and
right, exactly. And so it's more than just football brings all that together, which can be amazing, and people have to step back and realize it isn't just those football players. It's all the people to help run it, to attend it, the training staff. It's lots of moving parts, and it's a huge commitment and effort that goes into running a football game.
There's a lot of magic under those Friday night lights, right?
Absolutely, there is.
That's for sure. Well, what's your, biggest accomplishment in all the years that you've been doing all the booster work and the PTO work? What's the one thing that you're that's the thing I'm most proud of?
I'm not really one to toot my own horn. It's not something I've really ever been driven by. I'm super proud of the fact that we have been able to, and I say we, I mean all the board members that I've had the pleasure of working with, that have been able to support now 8 years worth of athletes coming up from 6th grade, and now they're, seniors in high school, and just helping all these kids and knowing that we had a direct impact in their development, either as a student or as an athlete, also, just as a human being, and have gotten to see them grow over the years. That is absolutely what I am most proud of. I take great pleasure in having been a part of their journey, and just, I may not necessarily know each individual kiddo, obviously, but I can remember them as little 7th grader, barely able to do whatever, and then here they are at a high school senior, getting offers to go play, at various schools, or go follow their dream, and playing volleyball, or playing basketball, or playing football. That is what I derive my joy from. That's what means the most to me. Everything else, and knowing that we've created a program both at middle school and at high school that has spread throughout the district to many of our schools, who are following a similar model, each tuned to their schools, obviously, but it's a similar model that we've kind of helped drive across the district, and I hope will last for many more years to come.
Yeah, you guys were definitely the leader in that area, and a lot of schools have followed. We always get that at BoosterHub that, hey, we're trying to do what they're doing over at Reynolds or Prosper, and it's amazing what you've done. And Reynolds this year looks like they're just going crazy, going gangbusters, great spirit wear, and all types of great things happening there.
Yeah, no, I actually met with them last night, and they are doing fantastic. I still have kiddos at middle school, so I'm still, I'm not involved with the leadership over there. My wife actually is, so she's taking on kind of that, helping out over there. So, we still have, friends involved, and I think they're doing amazing things. I'm very happy and very excited for them.
Well, I always like to end our podcast, Jason, with asking whether or not you played sports in school, and if so, how did that impact your life? And not just sports, but any type of extracurricular activity.
Sure. So I'm actually a bit unusual. I'm actually an Army brat. So I grew up overseas.
Okay.
I did not. I was here in America, in the U.S. for kindergarten and 3rd grade. The rest of my years, I was overseas. I came back to the States really in time for high school. And I tried to play football, but I knew absolutely nothing about it. And I decided after 1 year that was probably enough, because I didn't know what I was doing. And sports were never really a part of my growing up, simply because we lived in places that didn't have team sports. So I actually joined the Junior ROTC program. Again, being a military, child, I assumed that the military was in my career, was in my future, and so I joined JROTC, and I had an absolute blast. I loved it. I made some great friends, people I'm still friends with today, and really kind of found my people in the Junior ROTC program. Mm-hmm. And I went off and actually joined the Army right after high school. I think I graduated on the 7th of July, and then the 11th of July, I shipped out for basic training. So I thought I was going to be a lifer in the military, but I decided that after 4 years, I was good. And so I got out and came back, and I began working in the IT world and working for various defense contractors on the East Coast.
Well, thank you, for serving the country. That's a great
Absolutely.
thing. And I love how you found your community there. It's at BoosterHub we work with not just the sports, but the FFAs and the ROTCs and the debate clubs and the choirs, and it's really about finding community, which is exactly what you said, like connecting with people, and that's just such a powerful part of that high school experience.
I think it's a critical part. I think once a young adult finds their people, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
It can be tough to find their people. It absolutely can. Kids are hard sometimes, and can be a little unforgiving. But once they get fortunate and they find that group, they're going to be just fine.
Yep. That's what it's all about. Well, Jason, thank you for all that you do. I know the Stover family is active in so many things, And I'm always in awe at all the places you're going and doing. But thank you for all your giving back to the communities, and thank you for being a big fan of BoosterHub. We love that too. So
Absolutely. Hey, thank you for
appreciate
making a great product. I really appreciate what your team is doing for the boosters and helping provide us an easier way to give our parents what they need. So I appreciate that.
Well, our goal is to try to give you more time to be there on the sidelines cheering for the kids and less time behind a computer.
That's always a good thing. Always a good thing.
Well, thanks again, and we're definitely going to circle back and have an episode about that auditing.
Sounds like a really great time. Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, Jason, take care.
Thanks, Robin. Have a great night.
You too.